say, I mean, Congresswoman, I was watching these hearings. These questions are from La La Land, okay? One senator said to Stephen Mnuchin, wait, listen to this. This was an actual question from one of the senators to Stephen Mnuchin. Can you confirm that your boss is known for firing people? Excuse me, you're speaking to the potential incoming Treasury Secretary. How about getting to the matters of business for the people?
Maria, respectfully, if you want to really judge the questions that United States senators ask, then run for the United States Senate.
No, but you're telling, I'm just answering you because you said to me that senators have a right to ask the right questions. They're asking questions that are exposing them that they haven't done any homework.
No, Maria, they have the right. Come on. There were very thorough questions asked of every single one of these nominees. Mnuchin was a Goldman Sachs alumni, an executive in Goldman Sachs. He actually wants to roll back Dodd-Frank. He wants to undo all the consumer protections that have been put in place that caused the crash of our economy and that allowed the banks to make money,
well, that's arguable. That's arguable because we haven't seen economic growth. We haven't seen economic growth in this country at all of 3% or higher under President Obama. And a lot of people believe the reason is because of these regulations that are strangling everybody. No, I'm serious. I'm pushing back with real issues here.
No, you're pushing back with Republican
CEO and manager after manager who say these regulations have shackled.
Maria, you think we should have just left things the way they were, and we should just let the banks, do whatever they want without any regulations?
I'm not talking about the days and the months.
We shouldn't protect consumers.
I'm not talking about the days and the months after the financial crisis, Debbie. I'm not talking about the day. I'm talking about the last 2 years and the thousands of EPA regulations
that was taking advantage of consumers. We need regulation of a system that was taking advantage of consumers where tens of thousands of people, more than that, lost their homes. People who are economically devastated. You have wastelands of neighborhoods that were dotted with foreclosures and short sale signs.
Why are you taking us back to the financial crisis? It's been a decade. Why are we talking about 2008?
You asked me about Mnuchin, who is his nominee for Secretary of the Treasury, who publicly advocated for the repeal of Dodd-Frank and said that would be a top priority
for him.
Because
Dodd-Frank, let me just get this in, because Dodd-Frank is one of the reasons that small and mid-cap banks have stopped lending. And that has put a stop on economic growth, Congresswoman.
Look,
that's the issue. You've got to unshackle business so that they could actually create jobs.
What you need to do is have a balance where there was none before.
And there's no balance now.
To protect there is most definitely balance when it comes to making sure that we appropriately regulate big banks that were the problem, that were doing everything they could to make money off the backs of the people who could least afford it, take advantage of them. And I agree with you that smaller banks do need some relief when it comes to regulation. The small community banks are the ones that are actually in the community making good decisions.
So how come the banks are still too big to fail still?
But the answer to that, Maria, the answer to that is not to repeal. Do you think we should just repeal Dodd-Frank?
No, if Dodd-Frank was so effective, how come we still have the issue of too big to fail, and how come the big banks just keep getting bigger? Again, it was misguided. The regulation was misguided.
We created that's ridiculous. It was not only not misguided, it's the reason that we were able to get a handle on making sure that banks weren't able to run over their customers. I mean, look, you still have banks like Wells Fargo who got caught red-handed even after Dodd-Frank was in place, stealing millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from their own customers, trying to cheat them out of their own money.
You're absolutely right about
You don't think there needs to be a check and a governor?
Well, by the way, the government did not find the government did not find the consumer banking business unit did not find the upset at Wells Fargo. A reporter did.
We need to make sure that there are protections in place for consumers.
Helping to find out what happened at Wells Fargo.
Dodd-Frank will do that.
But listen, I don't want to get stuck in the weeds because we can go through every regulation and it's crazy. But let me ask you about
the weeds with you, no problem.
Let me ask you about the future of the Democratic Party. Obviously, your team lost. Okay, the people have spoken, and President Trump is the president. Now you're searching for the next chairman of the DNC. Former Labor Secretary Tom Perez on the list. Minnesota Congressman Keith Ellison on the list. A lot of people feel like if you push Keith Ellison forward, you remain still not listening to the people. He is way too left. Has your party been hijacked by all the extremists on the left?
Oh, come on. Of course not. I trust that my former colleagues at the DNC, the 447 DNC members, are going to make a good decision. They're in the midst of evaluating all the candidates. There are about 6 or 7 very strong candidates for DNC chair. I'm not weighing in on who that should be. But what I do know is that the next DNC chair needs to make sure that they are focused on rebuilding our party so that we can empower the grassroots, strengthen state parties, as I did during my tenure as DNC chair. We had a Democratic Victory Task Force under my tenure that really put in place the tools that the state parties now have to build on that.
The bigger point is listening to the people in terms of what they want, Congresswoman. Do you think the party has been hijacked to the left?
Look, Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump by nearly 3 million votes. The people did speak, and Donald Trump would do well to listen to them.
We got to jump. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a pleasure. Thank you so much.